I'm Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and welcome to the What the Heck podcast, where every week I interview guests on different health topics. We have great discussion, and we talk about what makes people go, what the heck. Today, I have as my guest, I have a hard time pronouncing her name. It's a bit of a mouthful, Shoshana Chaim. And she is the host of also a podcast, Plant Trainer. So I'm going to let her tell us more about what she does and also her story. How did she get interested so much in plant nutrition, plant-based nutrition? So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Nathalie. I'm grateful for being here today. Yeah, my name is often a mouthful and often gets hacked. So yeah, Shoshana Chaim, thank you so much. And you know what brought me here? It's really a very powerful story, and I think that it connects very well with other people. Just about 10 years ago, my husband and I, we considered ourselves healthy. We were athletes. We were good weight. We exercised, we were part of sports teams, we cooked more food than we ate out, and we kind of saw ourselves as, healthier than the general population. We ate from all food groups. And one day when I had my 1-year-old and I went to the park, I was actually pregnant with my second child, and Adam gave me a call, my husband gave me a call, and he said, Shush, I have this pain in my chest and it's in my arm and I'm a little bit nervous and my dad's picking me up and we're going to go to the hospital. And we kind of thought, well, he's 37 years old. There's no way that he's having a heart attack. So he got to the hospital and they said there was no heart attack, but they did some other tests. And within a couple of weeks, we got a phone call saying that they actually found a tumor on his kidney while they were doing some of those other tests. And we really couldn't understand why. It didn't run in the family. We exercised, we thought we ate well, and everything was kind of going great. And all of a sudden, boom, there's this big tumor. And before they wanted to look into it more, they had told him that it was probably malignant. And they also told him that there was a very slim chance that he wouldn't be at the birth of our child. I just found out a few weeks before that I was pregnant. And that didn't sit well with either of us. He wanted to do more research into the tumor before they took it out. So he ended up getting a biopsy. We found out that it was in fact benign. Thank goodness. But it took a long time to get all the facts together. And what we found out was that this tumor that he had, even though it was benign, it was often associated with VHL, Van Hippel-Lindau syndrome, where you get little tumors all down your central nervous system. And it takes a long time in Canada to get an MRI. Things have progressed where you can go private now a little bit differently, but back then we couldn't. And what he found was that if he went to an ophthalmologist, they were able to look through the retina to see through into the brain to see if there were tumors there. So at least we'd get some kind of understanding of what a prognosis may be. Mm-hmm. So she said, congratulations, this is amazing news. You don't have any tumors in your brain. However, your arteries are quite blocked and you're showing developed stages of heart disease. So of course, we know that if the arteries in the eyes are blocked, the arteries in the heart are blocked. It's not just your heart that's sick when you have heart disease. And 5 years before, we had lost a very good friend who was in his early 40s to a heart attack. He went to go play floor hockey and had 2 young children and a wife and left them behind. And we really, I have chills talking about it now and thinking about it now. We really didn't know what to expect. So Adam started to research and say, how can I how can I improve my quality of life, my quality of health, and my longevity so that I could be here around with my children. At the end of the day, he didn't have that VHL. At the end of the day, he was able to reduce his heart disease, and or actually eliminate the heart disease, and he was able to shrink his tumor by dietary changes alone. He went plant-based overnight. Within a year, he went back for his tests, and the doctors want to know what treatments he had had, what other doctors he had seen, what had happened to shrink this tumor. And he basically said, I changed nothing. I stopped playing hockey. I started doing long distance running and swimming, and I changed my diet, and I took out all cholesterol foods from my diet and added in a truckload of fresh and whole foods. And this is where I am. So this is where we've been ever since. We've changed our life around. Our children are plant-based, and we're helping others to do the same.
Cool. It is a powerful story, and oftentimes, sadly, and I mean, like you said, you and your husband were doing a lot of the right things, and we need an event like this to say, oh, hold on a minute, maybe what we're doing needs to be changed. So we just had the Canadian, both of us are Canadian. I know there's people listening that are Americans, but regardless, we just had an upgrade to our Canadian food guides, and I couldn't believe, I didn't remember it was that long, but the last change was 2007, and I'm like, wow, we're in 2019. What took them so long? And you and I discussed earlier, our opinion on the changes, and I think we both agree that it's a good step in the right direction because it's visual and so forth. And one of the things that I liked about it is that they are putting things in section, which is more visual, I think, for the public, but also that they're favoring a lot more plant-based protein. So tell us a little bit more about that and how you see it, being more visual and easier for people to implement, especially if they choose to eat that way, right?
Sure. So they really have eliminated the food groups. We used to have 4 food groups, and there used to be a nice chart that looked like this, where it basically said how many numbers you need depending on how old you were, and here are some options. And it was really hard to follow, and it's almost like you would have to put that up in your kitchen and check things off, and who's going to do that? And they basically switched it off. I kind of drew a little one here because I didn't have time to get a flyer yet because it just happened last week. But basically what they're saying now is make half your plate fruits and vegetables, make a quarter of your plate whole grains, and make a quarter of your plate protein, and choose plant-based proteins more often. The other thing that they have is choose water as your drink of choice.
And that was a big one, right? Because before it was milk, it was juices. So that alone is huge, right?
It's huge, and it really simplifies things, and it's so much easier to visualize it. I mean, a 2-year-old can do it. And I think what I've already heard coming in from the general population, whether it be, followers or just friends, is I'm not eating enough fruits and vegetables, right? Like I'm eating like half my plate grains, a quarter of my plate proteins, and a quarter of my plate vegetables. And there's an understanding that we just need that much more. They've also really changed the language, which I like, because before they would say include small amounts of unsaturated fat. And to me, I hear that positively is you want to include saturated fat. And if you say small, people hear big. But now they've changed that to say swap out certain saturated fats for these, or use a small amount, or instead of saying make at least half your grains whole grains, they're saying choose whole grains. And they're making it not so much dictatorship, but they're actually being forthcoming in what they're trying to say, as opposed to before. I think that they were trying to not make people feel bad about their bad habits and say, maybe make some changes. I think it's a lot clearer now on where we need to go.
And I think you and I discussed that prior to getting on the podcast, but my philosophy with food is there's no one size fits all. And you have to think that they designed this for guidelines. So obviously it's not going to be for everyone in the sense of choices. Some people make choices to follow certain diets, but one thing is for sure: we want to decrease sugar, we want to decrease glucose, we want to decrease processed food. And I think that plate, and that's what's positive about it, reflects that. So for the people that choose to be vegan or vegetarian, talk to us about quality plant protein that they can integrate to get enough protein and to get enough of the good fats, that we need to have in our diets.
So, I mean, we have some sayings in the plant-based world, and I don't know how you rate your podcast and if you want to put an E on it, but basically we say, forget about protein, like we use a four-letter word there about protein because everybody's so concerned about protein. But we've almost overused that so much to the point where people are like, okay, I don't need to care about protein anymore. Protein is a macronutrient, right? It's a nutrient for a reason. We need it. And what I think that we in the plant-based world are trying to get across is if you are eating enough whole foods, and by whole foods, I mean, you're eating an avocado, you're not eating avocado flavored chips that might have a bit of avocado oil in it, or you're eating a potato or a sweet potato, and you're not eating, a store-bought potato that's been processed with potato flour. When you're eating whole foods, you're going to get enough of it. We have more nutrients in something like kale and spinach than we do in any other food out there. So, but what we really need to make sure is that when we're talking about protein, that we're not necessarily going to the store and picking up a package of plant-based or vegan burgers that say protein rich, and we're eating that, because there's all sorts of different oils that have been mixed in there. There's all different kinds of starches that have been mixed in there. And although it's really good at first as a transition food, stop eating a fast food burger, start eating this, store-bought plant-based burger, vegan burger, and then start making your own burger where you could actually see the oats in it, and you could see the pieces of onion and carrots in it. If we're, so it can be good that way. But when we are looking at really good sources of protein, we want to look for organic tofu or tempeh. Though, when it's organic, we know that it's just has less chemicals on it. We want to make sure that we are, getting some avocado in our diet. We want to make sure that we're eating lots of beans, and it overlaps, because it's not just about the protein, it's about everything else that comes with it. You eat greens, you eat black beans, and you're going to be getting, almost 10 ounces of protein there, but you're also getting fiber. You're also getting fiber, because what goes in must come out, and it should be easy to come out. So we need to take a look at what else we're getting along with it. So nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, and tofu comes from a bean to begin with, the soybean. So, if you include those in almost every meal, then you're going to be okay, and you don't need to count.
Yeah. And I think, just a side note here, if we can add more fermented soy than not, and not genetically modified as well, because I think it's something as high as of 90% of our soy crops are genetically modified. So adding that component.
And to add to that, a lot of those crops are not necessarily for human consumption, but they're for animal consumption. And then we're eating the animals that are eating that genetically modified crop.
Yeah. And I think people are so confused about diets because, there's the paleo diet, which is high in protein. There's the ketogenic diet, which is high in fat. And then if somebody wants to be vegan, and, I know some of our listeners don't want to be vegan. Some want to be vegan and are having, some issues and conflict. So again, I think it's a decision that we make as a person, that it is for spiritual or religious belief, for whatever you want to accomplish in your life. But at the end of the day, I think I always say you put a whole bunch of nutritionists in a room, and I think we can all agree that we need tons of leafy green vegetables, and that we need to eat whole food. I mean, I think those two things are basic. So with the podcast, I like to have, different people talking about different things, because I think once we understand that we're not trying to say, okay, everybody should be doing this. Mind you, some people will say, to save the planet and all of that stuff, but I'm not here to cast judgment or anything like that. We're here to educate people that it is easier than they think to go that route, if that's something that they choose. Now, tell us, when you work, I mean, your husband is got a good story in terms of how he was able to do that with the clients that you work with. Give us one or two example, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more about the hacks or the swipe that people can do if they want to decrease or completely eliminate their meat consumption, or, like I said, just increase their plant-based food.
Right. And I think that what we need to do is we need to separate vegan and plant-based. And we, my husband and I came at it from a plant-based point of view. And plant-based could be 100% plant-based, or it could be, 90% plant-based with a little bit of animal protein here and there. But when we come to science-based research and we look at where the research is coming from and how it was done, I think that when people actually do look at it, that you could see those amazing benefits. So whether my clients have gone 100% plant-based or, mostly plant-based, I've had people come off of medication for arthritis, where they weren't able to make their children lunches before, even on their medication, because their hands weren't working. And now moms are able to get out of bed, make lunch again, drive their kids to school. I've had clients come off of their insulin in less than 6 weeks, have fewer panic attacks. So a lot of what I do is nutrition, but then I concentrate on other areas too, like movement, mind strength, stress management, sleep, and in some cases, supplements as well. Adam's shrunken tumor, Adam's heart disease, that's happened, in our practice as well. And overall better cellular health, really, and more energy, performing better as athletes in our 40s than we were in our 20s. These are the types of things that we've shared with a lot of our clients as well. There's really no limit as to what we can achieve when we're really coming back to the basics and not just looking at it as what foods are we putting in our mouth, but the holistic point of view.
And thank you for bringing this, because it is so true that food is key, and this is what we're discussing here with you today, but there's so much more to it. And you're right, cellular inflammation, and I've done many podcasts on that same topic. I think people are now realizing that chronic inflammatory disease are the diseases that are killing us now, that it is for cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. They're all inflammatory diseases. So I always say that the name of the game, not that I'm saying that life is a game, but is to really look at the communication, from cell to cell at a cellular level of our membranes, to make sure that the proper hormones can get in, that the toxins can get out. So it's complex, and we could have a whole podcast on just that. So Shoshana, if someone wants to integrate more plant food base in their diet, give us some swaps that, I'm sure you suggest to your clients all the time.
Sure. So some of the easy ways to start is take your regular chili recipe that you use all the time, and you could either just replace that with more beans or even lentils for that texture, or maybe go to the grocery store and get that veggie ground round the first few times, just to get used to making it without without your ground beef or whatever it is that you're using, and then move on to the beans. So you can create it that way. You might just need to saute a little bit more at the beginning to bring out those flavors. You can use soy milk or water in your smoothies instead of using dairy. And if you're somebody who already uses protein powders, I'm not saying go out and start doing it, but if you already do, choose ones with no whey. Say no whey to no whey. Dairy is extremely inflammatory. There's no need for it. You can get that protein from plants. You could also get it just by eliminating that protein powder altogether and putting the beans or chickpeas straight into that smoothie. I do that all the time for myself and my children.
Coconut milk, would you suggest that as well? And
so I find that coconut milk is really, there's flavor to it, but there's not much nutrients. So yes, they've fortified it with vitamin D, they've fortified it with vitamin B. So if you're using your milk to get those nutrients, you can. But otherwise, if you're looking for protein, there's not a lot of protein in there. Soy milk really gives you a lot of protein for the bang for the buck. A lot of the other milks are literally just water with flavor and some add-ins.
Or water, and then add different things, because I think kind of what I've noticed with soy, depending on gut health, some people can have sensitivity, so obviously guideline, but I say to people, just put some water, like you need water, so
that's why I said soy milk or water, and you could add those beans in. You can use, and again, coming back to soy, you can use some fermented soy. So we're looking at tempeh or regular soy for tofu, and just make sure that it's 100% non-GMO and that it's organic. And you could use that in your stir fry instead of chicken or beef. So you can definitely do that. And you can, instead, like on our toast, we put a lot of butter and we put a lot of cream cheese. So try nut butters, try avocado, some of those good healthy fats, instead of putting butter on your bread. You could try putting, like at dinner, you could try dipping it in some balsamic vinegar or something like that. So we could try some new things. For dips, you can use hummus, and you could even make hummus with beets in it, right? All of these different flavors. So we don't always have to go back to that spinach or artichoke dip, that we grew up having at parties. Get creative with it. The recipes online, we have recipes online, but there's recipes online everywhere. There's cookbooks everywhere for plant-based living. So if you could replace one thing each week that you're used to eating that's not plant-based, and get 50% of your sittings to be plant-based, then I really think that you're going to feel a big difference in terms of your energy levels, and in terms of just how your cellular health is actually working.
Yeah, because phytonutrients are so important, and unfortunately, as human, we tend to eat the same darn things all the time. So just that, and having new things introduced, and a rotation of colors from like I said, obtaining your phytonutrient that way is huge, because each color brings different minerals and vitamins. So I think it's key. So we have to make it fun, right? We have to make it fun and try different things, right?
Absolutely. I like to say, for young families, put a little chart on the wall for each day of the week. And every time somebody eats something that's a color other than brown or beige or white, they get to make a check mark on the wall. It's not a competition against each other. We're working together to see how many check marks can you get in that box, and get in as many colors as possible.
Yeah, I've even gone in our fridge, that I organize our fridge in color, because I want to make it a point, when I'm making my salad or my smoothie, to get a little bit. And at first, I was just giving a talk this weekend. I said it felt weird to put, a tomato beside a red apple, because they're both red, and one's a fruit, one's a vegetable. But I got used to it, and it's just and you're right, with the kids, it makes it really visual for them to grab foods from different color. So what other things do you suggest, or hacks to transition or to include more plant-based?
So what I do with a lot of my clients is we start one meal at a time. So we might start with breakfast. I find that breakfasts are really easy. I actually think that it's the downfall of the food guide, if we were to talk about one for a minute. They say to eat more plants, but then I'd say about 90% of their recipes that they have are not plant-based or not plant heavy. So there's some blips there, but we're doing okay. So, for breakfast, if you're going to be making oatmeal, there's no need to put milk in. Put water. Add berries to it. Don't be afraid to have a salad for breakfast. You can mash up chickpeas and have a little bit of like a chickpea pate on top of your bread instead of cream cheese. There's so many different options. So start with breakfast, get used to breakfast, then start with lunch and go with lunch. And then before you know it, 90% of your day is going to be plant-based. And then, fill your plate the way that the food guide has asked you to for dinner. And if you want to continue to put some, animal products into your dinner, then make sure that it really fits in that spot, and you're doing your body really good. And I think you're going to be more cognizant of putting more greens, more oranges, more reds, more purples into your diet. I mean, something like berries, blueberries, half a cup of blueberries or a full cup of strawberries every day is going to make your mind sharper for longer, or has shown through research that people's minds stay sharper longer. So, if we're going to live longer, we really want to make sure that quality of life is there too. So get those greens, get those berries in, and talk to other people, work with other people. You don't have to reinvent the wheel yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I think, circling back to what you said at the beginning is that, as we age, I think more and more of us, and I was, like I said, giving a conference in Halifax this weekend, and it was nice to see younger people at the talk, people in their early 20s. So I think there is a shift, there is a focus on, taking control of your health younger in life, so you're not having to backpedal and undo things, and eating a more whole food diet. I think we can't go wrong with that. In the 70s, with the convenience of box cereal and foods and TV dinners and so forth, we have, like you said at the beginning, go back to the basic and do whole food. So thank you so much for your insight, and hopefully for the people that are looking to incorporate more plant-based in their diet, they'll get them, that will give them tips and so forth. So Shoshana, how do people get in touch with you, your website, if they want to, get more help from you? How can one go about that?
Thanks so much. So they can visit our website at planttrainers.com. There's a link to the Plant Trainers podcast there. We're very active on Instagram. I answer everybody personally, maybe sometimes Adam, but usually it's me answering everyone personally. So at Plant Trainers, we'd be happy to see you there. And for people who do want to get started with, what can I eat in a week to, really up my fruits and vegetables and be more plant-based, I'm happy to offer a 1-week plant-based meal plan download to all of your listeners, so that they could at least have a visual of where they can begin.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thanks again for jumping in. Again, this was Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp on the What the Hack podcast, where every week I try to bring guests to educate you on what you can do to take charge and take control of your health. So have a great week, everyone.
Are you struggling to lose weight, stay energized, or adopt healthier habits? With so much information out there, it's hard to know what's best for you and your body. Not only that, but forget staying motivated when you don't have a clear path to take. That's why Dr. Nathalie created the Hack Your Health Habits Mastery Program. The program is an online, self-paced, transformational program that can help you truly maximize your mind and body's potential. The best part, it's done right in the comfort of your own home and on your own schedule. The Mastery Program teaches you everything that you need to know to take control of your health once and for all. The modules are organized in a manner that is sure to keep you accountable and motivated throughout the program so that you achieve success. Are you ready to finally hack your health habits? www.hyhhmastery.com to learn more.
I'm Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Hack, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the hack you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. This has been a Wellness on the Go production.